And hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports. I'm Pat McDonald with Radigan Media. He's Tim Burney with the Sports Reports. And joining us for episode 20 here is Chris Manning of Northern Tier Sports Reports. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing good.
So a lot to talk about, obviously. We're into playoff season now. Some of our teams are already done, unfortunately. Some are still going and just starting their playoff runs. But let's start with your area of expertise there, Chris, cross country. You'll be heading down to Hershey this weekend, right?
Yep. Best time of year.
So who's all going to states there?
Oh, a lot of NTL kids. Let's see. I'd say probably, for boys Class A, there's Northeast boys. And there's 3 individuals. Northeast boys, Creed Doing might be the first NTL boy to win 4 state medals this year. He snuck in as a freshman, and he's been getting better ever since. So he was top 7 last year. I think he has a good shot for top 5 this year. And I know Northeast boys, I think they're ranked like 6th in the state, according to Penn Track. I know they're hoping to probably get top 3, but I think if they get top 5, that'll be a good showing.
Yeah, it seems like Creed's been there for 10 years. So
you're not the only one. I'm pretty sure every other cross-country coach is probably thinking the same thing.
How about the Athens duo? What do you think of their chances?
Graham Wank is ranked 25th, so you can't get more on the bubble than that for AA. I think if he has a similar race to Districts last year, he'll be under. Districts was near perfect conditions, though, for running. The course was hard. It was fast. It was a nice day. So the times were fast. If he can extrapolate those times to state course, which is a little bit hillier, you don't know what the conditions are going to be. I think it should be fair conditions. If he can run a similar time or maybe just a little bit slower, he should get a medal. Girls AA is going to be interesting because we have Lauren Kosek from Wellsboro, who ran a fantastic race, gave Lewisburg's Bailey Espinoza, the defending state champion, a little bit of a scare. Espinoza pulled away at the end. Lauren, if she runs like that, she could be looking top 10, maybe top 5 at states. And then you look at Tawanda Izzy Larson, Athens' Sarah Bronson, and then the freshman from CV, Natalie Yonker. All of them are ranked from about like 40s and 50s going into state. So they're right on the bubble. So they could, if they have a similar race that they did at Districts, they could be coming home with some hardware too.
How big is for Graham? We talked to him earlier. To get there last year, get the experience out of the way, Hershey.
It's a lot because it's the most talented big field he's going to run all season. And that's the thing. Like the Class A field was 7 teams. And then you're going to go down there and you're going to have 20 teams and an extra 100 individuals. And a lot of it is just being able to get your spot that first mile because it's so packed in. You know, you're going to have kids who are going to get boxed in and they're going to be 20 seconds slower than you want. And then you have other kids who are going to get excited and go out and they're going to be out 20 seconds faster. And then they got to sort themselves out over the next 2 miles. So there's a lot of strategy, a lot of executing that strategy that they're going to have to focus on.
Any predictions? How many medals the NTL comes home with?
If I could make predictions, I'd make more money. But no, I would definitely say Creed's going to, unless something happens, cross your fingers, nothing does, he's going to come home with a 4th straight medal. Kosek, I think, will medal. Just looking at some of the others, I think Graham will sneak in. And I think a couple AA girls will sneak in. And then Alyssa Parks from Troy, I think she's right on the bubble. She could get in if she has a similar race to Districts. And Megan King from Wyalusing was 27th last year. So she's another one. If she has a race like that, you never know what happens. So like I said, it should be pretty exciting, even though there's only one NTL team.
Top 20 or 25?
Top 25.
25.
Let's go to soccer. We'll start boys soccer. Obviously, Athens still going. I'm not sure if this will come out before they play the district final, but a good win. Great win for Coach Lezak. His last year. Awesome to see him back in the district finals one more time.
Yeah, they scored on a rebound 10 minutes into the game. I think Chase Ingram followed up on a long rebound. And then they held serve the rest of the game, win 1-0. I mean, and after talking to Coach Lezak after the game, he said that was our plan. Score and then hold them. And they did exactly what they wanted to do.
I was going to say, you can't ask for anything better than that if you're the underdog, is score and then pack it in, and then all the pressure's on them.
So what happened? They're the only NTL team we've got left, right?
Yep.
So what happened the Troy girls, who we had high expectations for.
They ran into a really good Hughesville team. They went down there. I think they started a little bit slower than they wanted to, and Hughesville came out to win. It kind of helps when Hughesville's 15 minutes away and Troy's an hour away, but that's the thing. NTL teams are used to, until Sullivan County builds a huge, nice facility in LaPorte. If you're listening, Sullivan County, you'll get a lot of business, but it's just one of those things where I think they came out a little slow, and you couldn't really do that against a team like Hughesville.
I don't know. If you don't have that Williamsport zip code, you're not getting any games.
No.
No, and then the Wyalusing girls got one win.
Yeah.
But had a tough loss there to Muncie, right?
Oh, well, Muncie, there was like a 20-mile-per-hour wind, and the first half, Wyalusing was against it. So they couldn't really clear the ball out of their end. And then the second half, it was going with them. And that's when they, scored their goal. And they let in a couple goals early, and I think it was the same thing with Troy. They had a little bit tough time getting off the bus. But once they got going, they played Muncie even. I think if you play that 10 times in different places and everything, it's probably 5-5. Wyalusing, Chloe Bennett had a free kick from about 25 yards away that was like 2 inches from going in. The keeper just got enough of it to deflect it off the crossbar, and then you go into overtime 2-2 with all the momentum. So, it was a really good showing for Wyalusing. They've won a district playoff game 3 years in a row now because they beat Meadowbrook 8-0 to get to Muncie. So, they've done a really good job with that program, Gary Haley and Mario Alvarez.
Yeah, and that's a pretty young program too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's impressive.
Let's move to volleyball. Obviously, we're guaranteed one district champ, right?
Yeah.
Through the NTL, because Northeast plays Canton Thursday night over at Athens High School. So if you're looking to watch some good volleyball, head over to Athens 5:00 for that district final. What do you see in that game? Obviously, Northeast the favorite.
Northeast is definitely the favorite. Canton lost to them twice, but both those games were really early in the season. So they've had a little bit of time. Northeast probably hasn't been quite as sharp down the stretch as they'd want to. They lost to CV late in the season. So Northeast, though, this senior class, this is sort of the year they've been waiting for. They know that if they beat Canton, the state bracket set up that they could make a run. And if Canton gets the upset, the state bracket set up that they could make a run. So I think both teams know that, this isn't just going to be a district title and one and done going to states. And, definitely Northeast, they have the experience. Canton's younger. Canton's had to deal with a little bit more adversity this year with, Veda Bryan passing away right before the season started. But I think they've kind of found themselves going into this game. So I think it'll be a really good match. Obviously, Northeast is the favorite, but I don't think they're going to take anything for granted.
And AA happening tonight as we record, right? Wellsboro gets a sweep of Loyalsock. You were down there for that.
They won the first set big.
Yeah, they won.
Did they sweep?
3-0,
Okay. Yeah, they look good too. The Paige Logsden is a force, and they were hitting the ball well. Several times they snatched a point, from Loyalsock and turned it into their own by, going to the ground. I think Loyalsock was caught off guard a few times with the fact Wellsboro was able to get the ball back over the net. I haven't seen a lot of PA volleyball this year, but Wellsboro is as good as I've seen, this side of the border.
And I think Troy Williamson tonight, we'll see. Williamson was the only team to give Troy their league loss the first match of the year. So I think they kind of came in and, Williamson's always a good program. But Troy went over to Williamson, won their volleyball tournament, and they've been rolling ever since. I think Troy's only other loss was to Northeast. It was a non-league contest, and then they beat Northeast just last week to win their first league title since 2014. So if Troy gets past Williamson tonight, they swept Wellsboro this year. I think one was 3-1, the other was 3-0. So they're definitely, I think they know how to win. But the thing with Wellsboro is that Wellsboro's seen them twice. And it's hard to beat a good team 3 times.
Yeah, I saw Troy's first match of the year against Athens, and it was first match of the year. Mm-hmm. So, I honestly didn't do anything to really super impress me. Mm-hmm. But after that, I noticed that they started playing much better. Mm-hmm. So I'd be curious to see them again. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Athens, tomorrow night they play for a 3A title. And I think they got a good shot of winning it.
Yeah,
those schools are all field hockey schools down there, so they're new to volleyball.
Well, Shamokin does have a history of volleyball.
Yeah,
so I don't think Shamokin's going to be Lewisburg.
Right.
But Athens probably has played a tougher schedule than any of those teams down there have. Playing NTL, playing some of these better teams. And I think that kind of showed in the Lewisburg match.
Yeah, I think Athens got a really good shot tomorrow night.
It's funny, Athens hosting the single A and double A. They got to go to Williamsport for their final there.
Well,
but shout out to District 4 for putting a
that's an Athens
championship.
That's an Athens guy that's the coordinator too.
Yeah, well, he chose Williamson, right? It was that.
Yeah, that was because she was the coordinator. Now Corey Mosier is a coordinator for now.
For D4
he chose, in all fairness, to have that match in Williamsport instead of bringing it to Athens.
Well, that's yeah.
And
no, good on that.
kudos to him, but. It wouldn't break my heart to see a Williamsport area team come here.
Oh, all the trips we have to make down south. But.
Although, shout out to D4's their website. They have that Wellsboro match already up on there, so on the bracket.
Yeah, they've been pretty good
by a Wellsboro guy, so that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it should be interesting. Hopefully, maybe get a couple NTL teams to win titles here. Could be all NTL.
It could be all NTL.
Too, right? Troy's the favorite, I would assume, tonight against.
Well, Williamson's an NTL team. Too.
Yeah, it's all NTL.
It will be all NTL.
So that's awesome. We'll have
yeah.
NTL dominating the volleyball ranks. Talk about dominant. The Athens golf team, at least in the NTL, was dominant, right? Kind of talk about them. You would think they would have dropped down a little bit. You lose the player of the year, Evan Cooper, and
they lost their number 3 guy,
and Nick Jacob, right? Yeah. And then other kids just stepped up, right?
We had 2 freshmen that stepped in Ty Owen and Brooke Lyon. And, Brooke shot at 85 in one round and 86 in another round. So, I mean, she was a factor for the Wildcats this year. And Ty Owen was in the top 4 of the whole year. And he had Brady Darrow as a senior step in and become a strong number 3 guy behind Dylan Saxon at number 2. And obviously Eli Hicks.
Yeah.
I mean, how good is this golf field? He shot a 75 and was still tied for 25th or something. So, I mean, that's deep. That is really deep.
Oh, yeah.
And then, he shot a 79, I think, the next day, ended up tied for 31st on that tournament. But
Pennsylvania sports are good, especially at the upper classes. I don't think people realize how good Pennsylvania sports are at the upper classes.
That kind of opened my eyes. You shoot a 75, you'd expect to be in the top 15 at least, and he's sitting there, I think, at 25th after day one. It's like, whoa.
It was funny in districts. I remember looking at it because, like, Athens won their districts, right, as the AAA team. And I'm like, well, there's only 5 teams in it, but then they would have won AA too, right? So their scores were good enough to get the job done there.
NTL Golf did good at districts.
Yeah.
Team districts, Athens won, North Penn was second, Towanda was third in AA. I know Wyalusing was about halfway through, and then they had individually 5 NTL golfers make states. There's years when I was at the review, we'd get nobody. So golf's definitely taken off a little bit.
I mean, I was playing. I was on the team that first ever Athens team. We were 0-40, so I had the golfers in here. Like, you guys came a long way. But then we got Scotty McNeil the next year, and we started winning. But that was back in the day. This is so early, basically 2000, and that's when kind of golf really started taking off. And back then, you had Towanda always had good teams with some of those guys. Tommy
they're going to have those good teams again. Towanda might be the team to beat the next few years because they got another junior high kid coming up. So the next 2 years, they're going to have 4 or 5 kids who can shoot in the 80s, maybe the 70s if they improve.
Lenny Pianka is going to clip that piece right there and say, give
Athens will be solid again next year.
They will. They will. Like I said, they have
Saxon and Darrow. So they lose their 2 and 3, so they need to find somebody to come in at 4.
They got a good youth program.
They got a lot of
That's
kids.
what it takes, especially with a sport like golf, because it's one of those sports where you can be athletic and you pick up a driver, and next thing you know, you hit it 3 holes over. Yeah, I don't care.
I've done that.
I don't care how fast you can run, but it ain't going to help you hitting the ball straight.
No, just need one shot around to keep you going, though.
It does. It brings you back
the next,
especially if it's on 18.
Yeah. I was doing the football game at Athens there right after districts, and the Hicks kid came up. His dad helps work the scoreboard, and I said, well, next time I have a captain and crew team, you want to join? You got be our anchor. Great kid, and he's going to do big things, I think, next couple of years for Athens.
Well, like I said, you go down to you shoot a 154 at state your first year there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good tone for your next 2 years.
Yeah, down right in State College, there's not the easiest courses in the world either, so it's impressive. Well, we might as well go to the big show, I guess. Everybody wants to talk about football. We'll go there now. Talk about the teams that didn't make playoffs first. Wyalusing great start to the year,
Yeah.
and then just kind of they ran their schedule turned, right? So
A little bit, and injuries turned.
yeah,
You know, they lost Dylan Johns, I think week 3. They lost a couple of winnable games. Hughesville, South Williamsport was another game. You know, Athens was a game that I think Athens pulled away from them a little bit. That was close. You know, just Montgomery was another game that kind of got away from them.
They turned out to be pretty good, though. Montgomery,
They did.
Montgomery's pretty good. That team was one of the bigger surprises to me. In
7-3 overall.
Yeah.
Montgomery.
Yeah,
So.
they're a pretty good team.
Troy grad Corey Tice is the coach of it. So
Okay.
I think they're starting to turn things around, they've had athletes, but now I think they're starting to get football players.
Yeah, well, they had a couple big backs that were pretty impressive. The quarterback threw the ball well. I really liked them. When I saw them play against Sayre, I'm like,
Every few years they
Team's
come up
all
with a
right.
running back that seems like really good. Right?
Yeah, one or two
Montgomery.
running backs.
And we were talking off air about some of the facilities here in the NTL, and I love Montgomery's football field and the stadium down there. So
I went
it's
down
really-
there. I went down there when I was working at the Review back in the early '90s. Boo Perry was playing for Canton. It was up on top of the hill, and there was nothing there but bleachers and a football. It was serious. So, and Boo Perry, that Canton team went to the state semis, and Montgomery was not very good. I think it was 50-something to nothing, and Montgomery had like minus 45 yards in total offense. It was one of those nights. But
other teams that didn't make it, Wellsboro, obviously, before the year even started, they lost a couple of kids to the car accident there. Hopefully they're on the mend.
They got a good quarterback though in Griffin Morrill.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can find some receivers and protect them. They're going to be a team to watch.
it's too bad Bowen was, Ryder, right?
Yeah,
He had a couple really nice games for him.
He did.
About 300 yards one game. He's a senior.
He
so
kept them
it's,
in at defensive too.
and he's a stud on the defensive
Yeah.
side of the ball.
Other ones, North Penn Mansfield, 3-7 to wrap up their year there. But they get to win at the end of the year, right? So
Yeah,
that's
they
always
get,
key.
they get the one that matters.
Here in the Valley, Sayre, 1-9. We kind of thought they might win 2 or 3 games, maybe, and just kind of put it together. And then
Just too young up front, and too many kids that have never played varsity football before. A couple really good athletes, but just it takes 11. They say that's the biggest cliche there is when it comes to football, but it's true. And they just didn't have 11 experienced kids.
I mean, I watched them against Canton, and you look at them, and you're like, they're athletes, and their line's big. Like Coach Sechrist noticed that too. He's like, I think their line's bigger than our line. But like you said, it takes 2-3 years to
Absolutely.
get that football
like,
mindset.
give Coach Lindblad credit. He kept that team together throughout the whole year pretty much. Last year, they had a lot of trouble keeping kids on the team after losing, the first 7-8 games or whatever. So credit to them. CV 4-6, Kauneski Valley.
Biggest surprise in District 4 to me was CV. And they've got some athletes, and just where they lost a game or two, they might have had a chance to win. And Fletcher Goods and Waverly, where's that team if he's still playing with them? You never know. So, but 4-6, that's a nice season for Kauneski Valley. I'm very happy for them over there.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to pull up their schedule here to see. You would think Fletcher Goods is giving you at least one more game.
Well, they won 3 in a row at the end. They were 1-5, I think, and then they won 3 in a row and then lost the last game to Montgomery.
And that's important because usually you get on a losing streak like that, and it's like there goes the season.
Well,
but the fact that they ended with 3 wins,
you had Fletcher Good to that team. They're probably winning week 1 at Towanda without Riley Vanderpool. It was 24-6. That was,
And it was
that
close. It was 7-6, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was close.
So that could have been
I think it was 7-6
Yeah.
at halftime.
Yeah, so they could have won a couple more games, but yeah, congrats to them. They really fought it out there, and tough loss to end the year, Montgomery. But we said Montgomery's pretty good.
I think and unfortunately for Montgomery, they're stuck in Class A with a couple powerhouses.
Yeah,
And,
we're going there next. So they get Line Mountain. Line Mountain, I believe, has 3 losses on the year.
Yeah.
But they're all the huge school, 2 huge bigger schools, and then to Steelton High Spire, 43-40 on the road.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure Steelton's quite as good without that quarterback, though,
No.
as they have been.
Yeah.
But,
Sure they're all
but
right,
yeah,
though.
Pine Mountain's battle tested.
So that's gonna be
one
fun.
thing you can say about them.
Don't want to. Not going to say Muncie or Canton and Montgomery are going to roll over for the Muncie and Line Mountain, but
I like
that district final is going to be fun.
I like that Muncie team.
Yeah.
And but that says a lot for Hughesville. Hughesville's got wins over. They beat Towanda, right?
Yep.
and then they beat
Without
Muncie.
Vanderpool.
Without Vanderpool.
Well, that's true. But
Yeah.
Useville had a nice year compared to
Yeah.
kind of what I was expecting out of them.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting there? Muncie Line Mountain in the finals there next night?
Probably. I think Canton offensively will be able to score against Muncie. The question is, can they tackle Austin Johnson?
Not many teams have.
I don't want to tackle him. I'll tell you that. Right now.
But he's not a one-man team either.
No, he's not.
They've got a couple other guys that can score whenever they get.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and whoever goes should expect there to be there for 3 hours.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see Canton being able to match him.
Defensively, I don't
see them.
Like, they're just going to have to hope they go point for point.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I just don't see.
Kind of like what they did with Athens, except pull out the win instead of.
Yeah, still one of the craziest games of the year. I was in the booth in Waverly, right? We were headed on.
Yeah.
I was there. I was covering it.
Yeah.
So,
well, we were watching on the phone while the Tioga game was being played.
Yeah.
The first game of the year at Waverly.
that was crazy.
Yeah,
That was an entertaining game.
absolutely. You would have thought that would have been a 21-20 game, not 48-42 or whatever it was.
You got teams with pretty good athletes and defenses that are a work in progress. So
Let's go AA. That's the big one really here, right? I mean, Troy is the top seed, undefeated. They get South Williamsport, tough test for South there, obviously.
Well, South lost to them. I think it was like 43-7 or 43-0 to start in the third week of the season. So
and speaking of South, at the time I didn't think too much of it, but that turned into not a very good loss for Athens.
Yeah,
in week one, because South really, after the midpoint of the season, kind of took a little bit of a nosedive.
And remember, South lost to Canton, I think, week 2.
And then
in South
Montgomery
on a Saturday morning.
Montgomery smoked them in week 9.
Yeah.
I think Montgomery beat them 43-7 in week 9.
And Athens should have won that.
South is very young. Very young. They're like everybody's coming back next year.
Maybe too high expectations coming off their run last year.
Yeah. Well, South, you always have high expectations.
Went to the state semis a year ago, right? But they lost 12, 13, I think, starters off that team. So.
Kind of like Canton.
But so I don't know how big a breaking news it is, but I wasn't aware of it until you told me before we started this. Troy's going to be playing it, providing they win the quarterfinals. They'll be playing the semifinal game.
That's what I heard, is that they're going to Mansfield University to match up with what will likely be Southern Columbia, unless Hughesville gets the upset of the decade.
I mean, Southern's lost 4 this year, and including the Mifflinburg.
They have
Mifflinburg, who was, I don't know, they ended up with 4 wins, maybe Mifflinburg.
But Southern doesn't take the regular season as seriously as other teams do. Their mindset is, we just get to districts, and then that's what matters.
Yeah, Mifflinburg, that loss surprised me. They're 4-6.
Beginning of the year, I thought they might be 8-2.
Yeah,
I was talking with some guys down who cover Southern at track the year before, and they kind of told me, we expect them with their schedule to be like 8-2.
Yeah,
and then they ended up 6-4. But they're young. I'm sure they got some bugs to work out, but I mean, it's still Southern Columbia. So
and with as good a coach as there is in the state or the country when it comes to high school football.
Absolutely. So that's going to be a semifinal showdown. We expected it to be the finals. Now it's going to be the semis at Mansfield University. Troy against Southern. Does Troy get it done? This is the year if they're going to do it, right?
This is the year if they're going to do it. I think talent on the field, they have the edge on Southern this year.
So it comes down to what's between. I don't want to say what's between the years, but just overcoming that Southern Columbia mystique.
You got to take the name off the jersey when you play them. Pretend you're playing anybody else, and I think they'll be fine.
Right.
And that'll be fun over Mansfield to pack those stands over there closer to the field a little bit than Alperon.
Yeah, I'll say.
Alperon with home fans are a mile away. Wave fans are right on top of the field.
Yeah. So that should be fun. Also in AA, Towanda, let's talk about them. Coach Wecker, heck of a job down there this year. Riley Vanderpool, best athlete in the league, I think. Well, you got Austin Johnson in the league too. But so those two would fight it out.
Those two. And Riley threw for 1,000 yards this season, and that's big.
Yeah.
Because now you just can't be like, all right, we'll just contain him and we'll see if he can throw the ball. And now he's proven he can. So that's another, element to his game that
Who's been his top receivers? Because that's a big thing. He didn't really have those guys established last year.
Pretty much. He throws it all around. I mean, he throws it to 5-6 guys every game.
So that's fun. I'm going to be doing that game on the bridge and the My Hometown Today apps. So looking forward to that. They get Bloom
That could be an
Friday night.
interesting game.
I think it will because
I don't think.
Bloomsburg beat Hughesville.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
It's
Bloomsburg
tough
played
to
a tough
beat,
schedule.
Yeah.
and Towanda, if they can stop Riley, which is not easy, but if they can, or at least contain him, they're going to make it really difficult.
And Bloom put up 28 against Southern. So that's,
Yeah.
their offense can score, obviously, a little bit.
That might be another game where fans are there for 3 hours.
Yeah. I mean, Bloomsburg lost to Danville,
Well, Danville's pretty good.
Lewisburg.
Lewisburg.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you were talking about Mifflinburg. I'm sure they lost a lot of
Yeah.
these teams down there too.
Lewisburg,
They weren't.
Mifflinburg, I think, was one score.
Yeah. So
So that should be a fun one, though. I think Friday night, 7:00 at the Endless Mountains Stadium
I don't know
there.
the last time Towanda hosted, maybe 2011 is the last time they hosted a district game.
Other than Canton's game a couple years ago.
Yeah. Ironically, I think it was Bloomsburg the last time they hosted a game. I think that was the year Bloomsburg went to the district final with that quarterback. Was it Rankin was his name?
Yeah.
And he got hurt against Mount Carmel in the final.
Could be fun. I mean, it could be an NTL title game at Mansfield University there. If Towanda gets past Bloom, they get the winner of Loyalsock Warrior Run.
Yeah,
those be tough ones.
that'll be a tough one too.
Warrior Run beat Bloomsburg, I know. And obviously Loyalsock, I'm sure, is.
Yeah, but I think they were all competitive games, so it's not like somebody's going down there winning 56-0. So I'm expecting them to be all competitive games.
Should be fun. Hopefully the crowds really pack the places at these NTL schools, especially when the others, when District 4 comes in, it's always good to have a big crowd there. And I'm looking for it. It was great when I said Towanda hosted Canton. That was awesome there to see not only Canton fans there, but basically the entire NTL.
Yeah, the entire league was there
to support the Warriors in their big run. We go to, do we have anybody in AAA? I don't think we do,
not
right?
anymore.
Danville's and Lewisburg, that should be a heck of a showdown in the finals, I would think. And
Danville, I think, is ranked top 3 in the state now.
yeah, and they're doing it without they lost quite a bit. So that it's kind of impressive that they're still up there.
Athens gets to go down to undefeated Shamokin Friday night. That's gonna be a rough one. It's
Shamokin beat Mount Carmel 21-0 last week.
yeah, Shamokin.
They beat Jersey Shore and Williamsport.
Yeah.
Shamokin is the real deal. I mean, I don't know what they're ranked. They must be up.
They're ranked in the state too,
Yeah.
top 10s. But how about Shamokin? You don't usually think football power in Shamokin.
I mean, not anymore. Years ago, right? And that is coal. That's the heart of coal country,
Yeah.
down there. But that's a long road trip for Athens, though.
That's a great
play a really
turnaround
good
for them.
team.
And it should be a good learning experience for Athens. Last year they were in AAA, so everyone kind of went to districts. This year, Athens kind of had to work for it a little bit. So now they had a pretty solid year. Athens did going,
And they're
5-5.
there's a ton of sophomores on that team. So, if they go down there and they stay healthy and like you said, it'll be a learning experience for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
because they're gonna be playing one of the best teams in the state. So,
And Athens would have had to battle CMVT for that last spot in the playoffs, but even though CMVT 6-4, Athens does have the rating edge, so they would have made it. No matter what.
Athens had to have a good season to make districts this year, and they did. I mean, that win at Wyalusing was great for them. I mean, Wyalusing's coming off that. I think 2 weeks prior was that Troy game, or was a 1-score game at halftime, and Athens, you're probably thinking, oh no, Wyalusing's got it going, and they came down there and they dared Wyalusing to pass it on them, and
they needed
stopped the
that.
run.
I think that was right after the loss to North Bend Mansfield, wasn't it? They had the North Bend Mansfield and then the Wellsboro game, and then
Towanda, and then
Yes.
lost to Towanda, then Wyalusing.
yeah. So I mean, Athens kind of had an up and down season.
They really.
The loss to North Bend Mansfield was a bad one.
Yeah, and South. I think that South game
turned into a bad loss. South did.
They could have been 7-3.
Yeah. And then
easily this year.
and Wellsboro was what 16-14 win.
21-13.
21-13.
They lost 16-14 in Mansfield.
Okay.
So
And even the Wellsboro game, they were ahead big and had to hold on in the second half. So they just from first half to second half, just too much inconsistency this year. But I guess that comes with
that's
being a young
a
team.
hallmark of a young team right there.
Yeah.
One drive they go 0-3. The next drive, Davidson rips off a 70-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they've got a ton of skill players back. Comstock's back up front. They lose Nason, but they've got something to build on up front.
Nason, who got to score a touchdown as a running back this past week.
There was a lot of that going around. Sawyer Robinson did too.
Oh, nice. So that's always fun. And this is the week that a lot of wrestling and basketball coaches are holding their breath, especially when you're like an Athens team going to play a huge team down in Shamokin and some of these other they're like, just don't everybody be healthy.
Or Troy, where they're holding their breath every week.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But so it should be fun. Any predictions as far as going forward? Do you think I'm going to say Troy wins the district title and makes a run here going forward? Because I think whoever gets out of District 4 has a good shot.
I looked at the bracket. Troy, they get past Southern and then whoever they face in the final. They shouldn't play anyone that's comparable to them until the state semis.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see Troy, because I think the last couple of years, it hadn't been for Southern Columbia, they could have made some noise too.
Yeah, Mount Carmel can talk to you about that too.
Yeah, exactly. True.
That's a tough thing with football. You can be the second best team in the state, but if the best team in the state's in your district, your season ends early.
It's a shame.
I think whoever wins Muncie, Lime Mountain, I think could make a run in single A.
Yeah,
I like Muncie. I do. I know Lime Mountain's tough, and they played a great schedule, but Muncie's got more than Austin Johnson, and I like their chances against Lime Mountain.
Talk about Shamokin and Mount Carmel. I saw the tweet from Mark from down that area, the sports editor. He said they sold 4,200 pre-sale tickets for that Shamokin Mount Carmel game. Wow. And there had over 7,000 people in the stand. That's old school cold country football.
Yeah,
there was
a football game in Eastern Ohio last weekend, and it was the number one team in the state. They were tied for the state record in consecutive wins, and they ended up winning 35-0. But the 50-50 for that game was $24,800. So I'm like,
you have to claim that on taxes?
Yeah, right? I don't know. Never gets that high to figure it out. It should be fun to watch over the next few weeks. Some big games this Friday night. Obviously, you got to win the first one to do anything. So that is going to do it for us here on Two Guys Talking Sports. I want to thank our sponsor, J. Lister, LLC, and Lenders Assistance. Give Jim Lister a call, 607-857-2036. You can email Jim at jim.lister@yahoo.com. Let Jim's 30 years in the automobile industry work for you. Episode 20 in the books here. I want to thank Chris Manning of Northern Tier Sports Reports. For Tim Burney, I'm Pat McDonald. We'll talk to you in episode 21 with Owego's Joe Palladino as our guest.